Who want one last trip to the long trail?
Tekken 8 released very strong, but then the developers started to add in monetization shops and skins. Things got a little bit dicey. They tried to shut down mods. Things got crazy. People started to really look deep into these characters and understand that the balancing just wasn't it. It got even worse. But then you also talk about the not addressing plugging and cheating. They were talking about in the most recent Tekken Talk how when someone plugs, they want their ghost to take over. They didn't say when that is going to be implemented, but we know now that it's not implemented in the current build, because when someone plugs, you still get the message, the error, the match doesn't cancel, and they run off free. There is no being held accountable for leaving a match in Tekken 8. This is a problem that has existed all throughout Tekken 8, all throughout Tekken 7, all throughout Tekken Tag Tournament 2. Tekken 6 is one of the only games that gave the person a loss when they left. Where did that go? Why did they stop doing that? I don't know. But all these months later, Tekken 8 has just failed to get their act together, and a lot of people held on. Even if you go back a week ago, people were telling me I was over exaggerating all of the chaos, all of the shenanigans. But just recently they announced that $5 stage. It was separate from the battle pass. A lot of people paid good money for that battle pass. They invested into the game because they believe in it, they want to support it. But the developers separating that $5 stage is just pure greed. They want to make more money than what they already are. You have the entirety of the shops, the store, the skins, the battle pass, but that's not enough. That's not enough for you to sell characters who should be base roster. Eddie, Lydia, Heihachi. You sold Lydia twice in 5 years. That's ridiculous. It's not enough. They want more and more money, and the players are absolutely sick of it. That stage being sold as $5 was the final straw. Currently on Steam, Tekken 8 is once again sitting at a mixed review score. This is the second time since the game came out. I believe the first time, correct me if I'm wrong, is either when they introduced the shop or when they tried to take down mods. Those two situations was really back to back. It was really like mushed in one. So that whole situation combined put it in mixed reviews. But once again, here we are. Before Heihachi came out, they were going down into this, and then they bounced back up to 8, and now they're sitting comfortably at 14,000. So that's actually pretty interesting that Heihachi was able to inject this game with that much excitement. You can see it's going down a little bit, 11, 12,000, 11,000, and right now it's kind of like a low point. But this is what we always said, right? And this is why it's so frustrating. They don't need to be super greedy and egregious with all of this stuff, selling stages, shops, skins. You don't need to do that. Tekken 7 showed the world that you could just release a good fighting game, balance, somewhat decently, and then give us exciting characters, and the game will make 12 million copies. All of this unnecessary $5 stages, shops, and stuff is completely unnecessary, and the players are feeling that, and they're voicing that concern. Over the past couple of days, players has been speaking out against this game very, very loudly. I'll just show you guys some of the top like comments on my YouTube videos. My comment section has been absolutely ruthless. Peeking into there, I've been terrified by what you guys been saying. You guys been roasting me, Harada, Tekken, each other. It's chaos. Tekken 8 should not be in this state 1 year from release, right? This is the 30th anniversary for the Tekken franchise, and what a 30th anniversary it has been. Now, in response to all of this chaos, Harada-san, the director of Tekken, apologized. He was basically talking about how, the stage should have been made more clear. And this is something that I was saying as well. They did this whole Tekken Talk where they talked about everything. How did the stage being $5 and separate from the battle, the season pass, how is that something that was not explained and addressed and made clear? Some people are upset that the stage is $5, but then some people are upset that it's separate from the season pass. And Harada looked at that whole situation and he apologized. What I thought was interesting about that is that he was putting blame on the publishing department and saying shame on those guys, right? And he wants to take control of them. That's really how the apology came off. Now, at the time of recording, that apology is deleted, and there was a couple of other tweets that Harada made with that, like in a thread kind of sort, and all of that stuff is gone. Some people loved the apology. Some people said words isn't enough, they want to see action. But now that Harada deleted this whole statement, we're sitting here wondering, like, what is the reason behind it? There was news articles written, there was Reddit posts, there was tweets, there was YouTube videos made. The impact of that tweet will be forever here. deleting it is kind of like a head scratcher. My only conclusion I could come to is that this tweet was kind of Harada blaming the publishing team, and maybe someone in the publishing team didn't like that. But we're over 2 days later. Wouldn't they have reacted sooner? I don't know. But to continue on, Nee was talking about on Twitter how he hopes the rank match will improve someday. Best of 3 is enough to play in a tournament. Online is not a tournament. Too short of a match for learning. I think it should be a first to 5 or more. Now, I, at the start of Tekken 8, was against the idea of infinite rematches. I was saying no. In no other game can you infinitely rematch your opponent in ranked. The developers was talking about how people do like boost, right? They'll find a weak opponent and they'll infinitely rematch that opponent, salty run back, and they'll gain a lot of points off of that person. And even though I understand where they're coming from, I think where Tekken 8 is at as a whole is a very bad spot. No matter what you're asking for, whether it's best of 5, infinite rematches, or turning over the quick match, the players just want more out of ranked, and I think that's the real thing that we should focus on, not the details of how it should be fixed, but the fact that everyone together is saying fix it. Another thing that players were really scratching their heads about, I've seen so many people making videos about it, and it's the story DLC. The story DLC was free. A lot of players were excited for it. Me personally, my expectations weren't too high because I feel like the base roster story wasn't that good. And I know I was the only one saying it at launch and everyone got upset at me for saying it, but I think a lot of people now realize that the story just simply was not good. There's nothing to take away from it. I would compare it to like a McDonald's. It's the McDonald's of storytelling. There's no depth there. There's no character exploration. It's just like very generic level of storytelling, and they did the same thing with the story DLC, but this time worse because they had major retcons and a lot of the bad writing really showed through. But Harada was on Twitter doing what he always does, and he was adding more to the story in a very incoherent way. He is responding to someone who is talking about how old Reina is and how long ago was the Hachicho clan destroyed by Heihachi. Harada chimes in and says, in any case, as mentioned before, Heihachi has many illegitimate children, and Heihachi does not know exactly the correct kanji, spelling, or date of birth of Reina's name. Heihachi has many illegitimate children, including Lars. The reason for this is that he has been trying to verify whether the devil gene originated from him or someone else. I know we always joke about how Harada gives random garbage lore from his Twitter, but this has gone on far enough. Someone has to tell him from in Bandai Namco to stop giving out lore this way. The fact that Reina is so obsessed with Heihachi, and Heihachi doesn't even know how to correctly pronounce her name, spell her name, or her date of birth. It's like, bro, what is this? Why is the game like this? Why is fighting games lore so bad? Final thing, here's a person who is tired of everyone complaining. This person says, I really wish they would stop homogenizing the cast. This is referring to every character being a stance, install, 50-50, rush down character. They did it to Heihachi, they did it to Lydia, they did it to a lot of characters, and people were just sick of it. Let the characters be their own individual character. But Landed D says, in response to this, I really wish y'all would stop complaining. I get where people are coming from when they say stop complaining about the game, but I think the game is doing a very good job of making players angry. I think they have a lot to do in a short amount of time. I mean, Dragon Ball Z comes out in a couple of days, right? There's a lot of games that's going to be dropping fast, and if this game is not careful, it's going to get swept away because it does happen in games. Tekken is not of course, there's diehard players who love this game, but if they're not careful, they're going to lose a big chunk of their player base, and they will not come back. They simply will not.